Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. I'm Claudia-Sam. If you know that you're here for a bigger reason, this is the place to be. Together, we ditch the self-care guilt and quit the go with less fear and more trust. Tune in to living life in alignment with your full potential. The Be Happy Now show starts now. Okay, Be Happy Now show crew, you're in for a treat. I'm so excited to welcome my friend Dani to the mic. Hi, Dani.
Hi, hello.
Hello, this is so cool. Dani and I met actually a year ago
Yeah.
at a women's conference, and we just actually didn't have so much time to connect. So we used the beauty of the virtual world to keep in touch. And I thought it would be a really great idea to have a conversation about what we both do and about how Dani can really help you to connect the mind and the body. We'll talk about what that means. Let me introduce you a little, okay?
Yeah.
So Dani is in her like day to day, she's a wife, she's a mom of two girls. She enjoys her free time reading. So for those of you readers, you might have something to connect on here. She loves to spend time with the animals on her hobby farm in Northeast Wisconsin in the US. And you'll most often find her bare feet, a book in her ear. Thank you, audiobooks, right? And a La
Yeah.
Croix in her hand. Dani is here having this conversation on the Be Happy Now show as a somatic life coach and owner of the Granary in Northeast Wisconsin. And that's where you can get treatments. If you're in the US, be sure to drop by. She's a certified somatic healer, Reiki professional, practitioner, yoga teacher. And the beauty of Dani's energy is that she holds space for people to just come as they are and to process and release traumas and emotions so that they can really heal on a mind, body, and spirit level. Excuse me. So here we are supporting holistic alternative healing modalities, and she's also educating her clients on the choices that they have available to them in their health and on their wellness journey. So welcome to the Be Happy Now show, Dani.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I'm very excited. So thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. One of the things that I remember you saying is that some of your clients sometimes will say, yeah, well, I don't feel that in my body. I don't recognize that, where do you feel that emotion or how does that feel in your body? Because I get that too. Sometimes my clients are like, what do you mean? That's blocked. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that first to maybe ease into the discussion of feeling it more in the body when we don't feel it?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, I think it's something that we're not taught this. We're not taught these things as a kid to like, what do you mean I'm feeling my emotions in the body? Like, I don't feel anything in my body. That just doesn't sound like, aren't our emotions in our mind? We think about emotions, right? It's just, I ask my clients that all the time, like, where are you feeling that? And they'll say, well, in my mind, in my head, in my head. And it's like, okay, well, let's take that a step further then. What are you experiencing in the body? Because our emotions are actually felt in the body. And if there's a disconnect there, then there's an opportunity to, just feel very blocked. And those emotions don't process the way that they should, and they just kind of settle in. And you can end up with, disease and illness or headaches or anxiety and things that just are festering and you don't know why. You know, I, I've seen I see kids as well in my practice, and especially like they have stomach aches and their stomach hurts all the time and they don't know why, and they see all the doctors and nobody knows why, and it's just like this disconnect. And then I ask them, where are they feeling their anxiety, or where are they feeling their emotions, and they say in their head. Okay, well, there's a disconnect between the mind and the body because it's actually coming out in your stomach. You just don't know that that's why you're having that stomach ache, right? So there's just an opportunity to start pulling us down from the mind and connecting more with our body so we can connect with those emotions, process them properly, so we can live with a little more ease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it had me, a
Hmm.
thought came in. Those listeners who are like me in New Zealand, P.S., you're going to be able to work with Dani as well, or get some of her wisdom and her healing with her online too. We'll talk about that later. What happens when someone comes to you or doesn't come to you because they're afraid of feeling and of actually like
Mm.
releasing it all without any control, right? And feeling like they're going to
Mhm.
be on a bed, or they're going to relive the trauma, or they're going to be so into the emotion that brought the stomach ache, for example, or the headache,
Right.
and then they're blocked to even healing.
Hmm.
What's happening there?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I like to really emphasize and create safe spaces so that people feel like they can come to me and they know it's going to be a safe space. And even then they've signed up, they're going to do the coaching, they're coming to me to heal, but even then they get here and they're like, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to feel the thing. And fear is a legitimate emotion. It's a valid experience, and it can be scary to go through those things. And I just encourage anybody who's feeling afraid to kind of lean into that a little bit more. Well, what are you really afraid of? And what do you think might happen on the other side of that fear? And even further, if you didn't have the fear and you could really just process and release this, what do you think life would be like? And sometimes you get to a point where it's like, oh, that would feel really good. I would really like to be able to let this go. I would feel lighter. I would feel, more joy. I would be able to let this go. And just that like idea, right, kind of sparks and it's like, oh, that would be worth it. It would be worth to just kind of get through the fear and push through to get to the other side. And they just pull up their big girl pants and they're like, okay, well, let's do this thing.
It's funny because yes, that is totally an option, right? Of that possibility of seeing what's available, what even is possible beyond the fear and the pain. And I'd love to access that in our conversation of how,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this sometimes, but I've been lately hearing more and more, I don't know what's possible. I'm so blocked.
Mm.
I'm so stuck. I don't know what's possible. Not that I don't believe it is possible to be better. I just don't know what that looks like. What would you recommend to someone who's like this, maybe feeling stuck somewhere, stagnant in their body, and they may understand that it's about releasing emotion and being with fears, but they don't know what's actually available on the other side. So maybe they're not actually taking action for healing. What would you say there?
Sure, sure. I would, that's a really interesting question. I think what I would do is get them to think about maybe a friend or a sister, or kind of like separate themselves from it a little bit and think about maybe somebody else that might, what if this was your sister or your best friend going through this? What would you want for her? What would you say to her? What could you see for her? What possibilities might open up? And that can just help to kind of work through that block, right? You know what I'm saying? So that it's outside of yourself a little bit, and then you can kind of walk yourself through it, and then maybe apply it back to yourself with like, oh, okay, that's where I might want to go.
Hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of givers in this world who like to easily please and give other people, right? And so
Absolutely.
it can feel like, oh, I can relate to that because I want them to be happy. I can come second, right? This
Yeah.
isn't the thing, you guys. Like if you're here, you're a listener of the Be Happy Now show, you know how important it is to care for yourself and taking ourselves out of the equation and thinking about someone we love. Great, great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's
Hmm.
been the most supportive for you on your journey that had you
Mm.
see that energy is so important and that mind body connection is it?
Mm. Well, I think it started for me when I went through my yoga teacher training. I had a class on energy, and just really started to kind of dig into it and had some aha moments. My grandfather, who's no longer here, he was really into Reiki and crystals. He had a lot of crystals in his house, and he was into reflexology, and he just like randomly come up to you and like start touching your feet. And it's like, how are you feeling today? And just like starts playing with your feet or giving you a crystal. And so when I started listening to in this class about energy healing and the different modalities and things, it was like, oh yeah, grandpa was really into this stuff. Maybe this like is something that I should like lean into a little bit. And it just kind of spiraled from there. And I went down the rabbit hole, and now here I am. And that led to the somatic training, and I have a good friend who's a spiritual medium, so we talk a lot, and she's just been kind of a pal in guiding me through my journey too. So the more I leaned into it, it kind of goes into that intuition and just listening to yourself and listening to what feels right. The more I did, the more I loved it, the more I learned and connected with it. So yeah, it's been kind of a journey that started a little more than a year ago for me. So yeah.
Yay. I love
Yeah.
that. Your grandpa.
Yeah.
It's so rare to find our grandparents aligned in that way. I mean, for me anyway,
Hmm.
I have seen little bits of things on photos that I thought, oh, I never had this conversation with my grandma, but it looked like it could be a spiritual one, but we'll never know.
Right. Yeah.
Very
Yeah, it's been
interesting.
interesting. I feel closer to him now since he's gone and I've gone through this than when he was here. It's just kind of a interesting journey through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's invite some ways of actually practicing on ourselves the mind body connection. And I know
Mm.
you shared that there are some physical exercises that we can do because
Hmm.
trauma, there's no size to trauma.
Hmm.
It shows up in our lives in multiple different ways. So as we get into ways to relieve trauma, you may have some physical exercises to share with us, and maybe you want
Yeah.
to touch on a little bit about that, the fact that uh, past trauma doesn't have a size and
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Trauma. I've heard people say things like having a small trauma or having a big trauma, and really our body does not know the difference. It doesn't understand a size of trauma. And the way that my somatic certification school explained trauma was the definition of trauma is any occurrence, any experience that has disconnected us from our authentic selves. I think that's a really beautiful definition of it because it could be something that's small. You might associate as being a small occurrence. It's not what this person experienced, so it's not a big deal. I'll get over it, kind of a thing. But our body doesn't understand that the difference in the size, quote unquote size. So whether you're realizing it or not, you've had traumas in your life, and if you're not processing them, if you're not realizing them, they can really sit and fester and cause some issues. So some exercises that I like to do with my clients. Well, first and foremost, the number one thing that I always say is journaling. Like that is the number one tool to process anything, is to just write that stuff down. Just get it onto paper and really put pen to paper and see what comes out for you without judgment, because so often we'll start to write and be like, oh, wait, I don't want to write that. Or just kidding. Or like you cross it off and be like, that's silly. I don't want to write that. And just really writing without any judgment and seeing what comes up for you. Physically, though, I really like breath work. Breathing exercises are a really good place to start. It's just such a simple thing. We always have our breath with us, right? It's very accessible to us. And there's a lot of different breathing exercises that are out there that you can do. I personally like counting by fours. So you inhale, count 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and repeat until you've calmed down, and that can work if you're anxious or heightened in any way, if you're angry, if you're sad, anything. It can just help to bring that nervous system back to a regulated state, calm you down, and just kind of get through the emotion there. So yeah, that's the main one. Another one that I don't think a lot of people talk about is touch, is physical touch. And I was doing it before. I'm an introvert. Coming onto a podcast like this is a big thing for me. So I was nervous beforehand. So I just had my hands on, you can't see my legs right now, but I was just rubbing on my legs and just rubbing them, up the length of them. I'm sitting on the floor so I can rub my entire legs, and just rubbing and just feeling the sensations of that, maybe scratching a little bit. It just helps to kind of bring us out of our head and feeling into our body. And going back to people who maybe they think they don't feel in their body and there's that disconnect, doing these kinds of exercise with touch can really help to try to bridge that gap, and just noticing, oh, okay, this is what I'm feeling on my body, right? And we just take that time to just, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I do feel that sensation. And it just helps to start bridging that mind-body connection. Another one is just the arms, rubbing the arms, giving yourself a big hug, that kind of thing, just to give yourself some comfort. And again, bringing that sensation down from the mind and into the body.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
sounds to me also like this is a great time to remind our listeners that everything that we share is a practice, and therefore it's not like as soon as you choose to release trauma or as soon as you choose to heal, that it's like one button that you press and you empty the tears from your body. You empty, it just everything happens at once. And next day, you can feel your heartbeat, you can feel your emotions. You
Yeah.
might, not saying it can't happen overnight, because it can.
Yeah.
And it's not, rather, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, these tools, what I like about them is that they're being gentle in inviting you to make a simple reconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Exactly.
what if actually releasing trauma or just not entertaining past beliefs that are harmful, that are held within you, like you need to do this, you should do that, nope, you shouldn't go there, nope, you shouldn't be that person, like all of these that are stuck in our body, only the ones that are ready for you to heal will show up. Would
Mm.
you say that that's how it
Mm.
happens in your
That's
work as
powerful.
well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times maybe things will show up. I had a client today where something showed up, and, it peaked up. But like seriously, like hard stop. Like we're not going there. Like I cannot. We need to just take baby steps. It's a baby step thing. It's like you said, it's not like overnight. We're not just going to get to the hard stuff right in one session. We're done. You're healed. Everything's done, right? But it's a journey. Life's a journey. And then you're going to go back out into life, and something else might trigger you or come up or happen. And it's just learning how to live with and process as you're going along. It's a process. It's a practice. That's the perfect word for it. It's a practice.
So that's why there's people like us who get to embody it, because
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I'm triggered all the time. So I live this thing.
Absolutely. Yes. We are not immune to these things just because we facilitate them. Exactly. Yes.
Thank you, Dani.
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you.
you have your Joy Blueprint available for us, and you also have a
Yes.
90-day somatic healing experience. Tell us a bit about
Yes.
that.
Yes, absolutely. So the Joy Blueprint is 3 steps to start this process, to really discover what it is that brings you joy, because society, other people's expectations, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, pile on throughout our years on this earth. And we get to a point where it's like, what do I even want? What even actually makes me happy? Like, I don't know. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm this or that. And who am I outside of those things? What brings me joy? So it just gets that conversation started with yourself and trying to like uncover some of the stuff that's been piled on over the years and walk you through how to start implementing those things so that you can feel joy every day, because that's the whole point. That's the goal here, is to feel joy. In my opinion, that's our purpose here. We want to be happy. We want to experience things that make us happy. And you can do those things now. It's not, well, when I get to this point, then I can do this. When I make this much money, then I can do this. Or when I get the degree, I can do this and be happy. It's now. Like, why are we putting off joy? You can have joy now. So that's what the Joy Blueprint is all about to bring you. So yeah. And then the 90-day program, it's an opportunity to work with me one-on-one. I guide you through, talking. We do a lot of talking, but then we take what we learn through our talking and implement some somatic practices. We do the meditation and the breath work to regulate the nervous system and break down barriers so that we can get those breakthroughs and really start to heal. And so that you can live with peace, joy, and ease. That's the goal. So yeah, and that can be, I do it here in my studio, but it can be a virtual experience as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Dani. So this is all available on danileggett.com. You will find the link in the show notes. And what is coming to me are two things to continue this conversation, that actually A Course in Miracles confirms all of this as well, that joy, happiness, and peace are accessible within us at all times. These are meant for us. This is who we are. So we can decide, oh, I'm just going to wait until this thing happens, or, using all the circumstances or the inabilities of what the trauma blockages in the body prevents us from actually doing. Like, we can use all of that as excuses to not feel joy, peace, and happiness right now. And we can choose to move gently towards it using these kinds of practices and the tune-in method, for example, as well. And so ultimately, trauma, what I'm getting from this is trauma realigns us. So the body sends us messages to walk the path of reconnection. That's who you are.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Cool.
I like it. That's amazing. And that's kind of what it comes down to, right? You said it in there. Everything's a choice. We can choose joy now. Everything's a choice. We can also choose to stay where we are. We can just choose to stay put. That's a choice. We can choose to just stay in our trauma, or stay in the victim, or stay in the stomach aches, or whatever. That's a choice. But you can choose joy too. It's just as simple as that, as making that choice and taking the steps in that direction.
Yeah. Thank you. And P.S., we're not saying that you have to bypass, right, the emotion, because when I'm in pain, it's my period and I'm in pain, which, knocking on wood, now I'm choosing that the experience is different this time around. When I am in that place of pain, I can't even think. Like, I can't even think, but I can have my breath, right?
Yes.
I can have my breath, and I can work towards peace and acceptance. Like, both can exist, right? Both the pain can exist, the wanting to accept it, and the choice of joy. Like, all of these can.
Yes, right. They coexist.
Coexist.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just finding a place of self-awareness and acceptance that they all can exist. And you're not going to let that pain define you completely. You're not going to let that stop you from the joy. Yeah, it's there, but you can choose to bring your focus back into the joy and, okay, this period, this sucks, but I'm going to be on the couch today and I'm going to watch that new show that I really want to watch. And I'm going to eat some chocolate, and, you're going to do the thing to nurture where you are in that moment. And you can find joy in that. So.
What a beautiful way to close us off. Thank you, Dani. It was so great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Have a look at the show notes, and we will be in touch on the virtual side.
That's good. Thanks, Claudia-Sam.
Thanks, Dani. You've been listening to the Be Happy Now show with me, Claudia-Sam. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. You are worthy of being you and of connecting to what stops you from living the life you are meant to live. Access more soul connection coaching at claudiasamcoaching.com.